You are listening to the #1 real estate podcast where we talk with real estate agents and professionals all across the nation about their wins, losses, lessons, stories to help you win in your local market today. My name is Cody May from Sheridan Street. I am joined with Vikram Deol, my co-founder of the Real Estate Growth Academy. Vic, man, what's up? How you doing? We're in Colombia together. We're in Medellin, Colombia, doing a bunch of podcasts today. We're back on the road, traveling and interviewing some really cool people. Who do we have with us today?
Yeah, dude. Today we got my buddy from San Diego, California, Mr. J.C Agajanian. I don't know. I feel like that was 87% butchered and 13% correct. JC is just a solid dude. Like, he's real estate, crushing it, San Diego. I just love him because he always throws me shout outs on his Instagram after the 5 a.m. club. And that's how we kind of connected, was through Sharon's 5 a.m. club. I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago. You've been on there for a while.
I got to take it back farther than that, Vikram. I think
a Tom Ferry.
I sent you a referral when you were in the Pacific Northwest, like 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that.
We probably totally botched that
through Kyle. So Kyle,
yeah,
and I had a guy in Seattle or something. I can't remember exactly where.
Dude, there we go. That is correct. I think the guy bought like a $600,000 house too. Probably with like $17 million now. So JC, for those of you guys, obviously you guys don't know the backstory, but JC is trying to do a whole video recording like studio in his building right now. He's actually got a audio expert in there, and they were trying their damnedest to get some stuff set up. And so we were excited because I was like, oh man, I don't know what it's going to come out like, but the more professional recording and audio video equipment, like the cooler it comes out. But I bring that up only because of the reason that I feel like you are, you've been with Kyle's group, and Kyle's all about branding. And I think maybe, I don't know where this conversation is going to go to, but tell me a little bit more about your business, and then tell us a little bit about why you were trying to do. If you guys aren't on YouTube, like, he's got a TV in the background. It's like waves and oceans. It's pretty sick. I don't know. I'm like super distracted right now. But tell us a little bit about your business, how long you've been there, what you do, how you do it, but then also let's talk about maybe what are you trying to do moving forward in 2023, and why you are spending money to have an audio expert there doing something or the other.
Okay. I got licensed in 2003. I was a mortgage broker for several years before I got into real estate. Almost lost everything like so many people did in the downturn. Fortunately, got turned on to an REO account and started selling repos like a madman. Had the best years of my life at that point. Through that period when people were falling out of the business and losing everything, I was just super grateful and, fortunate to be in that position. And then I actually had some difficult years transitioning out of that REO time when everybody else was starting to feel alive again. I was, all my clients was like 1 or 2 banks or 3 banks, so I didn't have, past clients and a whole book of business for 5-7 years, however long it was, built up. And so then that transition one was rough. And that's when I joined Kyle's team. I really needed to bone up on some of the foundational skills that I kind of bypassed by basically getting hooked up and having an REO account. So, generating leads, prospecting, converting leads to appointments, meeting people, converting appointments to clients, and then to closings, like the beginning part of the entire funnel that we do. I didn't get
97% of real estate agents. What you just said, JC, was why 97% of real estate agents, or whatever, 87% of real estate agents fails, because they're really good in front of the client, but they don't know how to get in front of the clients.
Right. Yeah, and that costs a lot of pain, and financial hardship by skipping past that. And so when I had amazing experience negotiating, running transactions. I had, I think 1 year, 50 deals at once, but they were all REOs. So the part about getting the business, I skipped over, and then I was really experienced at running the business. So I filled in those gaps by working with the Whistle group. I really boned up on the foundation, and that's when I kind of look at it as like the third act in my career, really now actually building a business as opposed to first working in a hot market as a lender where, if you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan. So
Right.
anybody who's kind of social could make that happen. And then I got hooked up with REO, because of some great connections. And then finally really getting my footing. And now, last year, actually 2020 was the best year, actually, including the REO years for me. And then 2021, I actually doubled that. And so I had the most amazing year ever last year. It was about 35 million in production.
Yeah.
And now I feel like, thank you. I have been working a whole lot harder to do a whole lot less this year, but still grateful, still really happy with where we're at.
I know Cody's got a lot of questions.
I do. Yeah. I have a ton of questions. There's a lot there. And, when you were talking about the, 2007, 2008, the hard years that everyone talks about, it kind of like, I've chatted with so many real estate agents across the country that there's no doubt we're in a shifting market. And like a lot of the veteran real estate agents now are saying we're always in a shifting market. But I'm curious to know, for you, like in this time, it sounds like you put a lot of work and a lot of effort in 2020, 2021 in order, even how you broke down, what it takes in order to get an appointment, what it takes in order to get a lead. Like a lot of agents don't necessarily know the fundamentals of actually building a business. So it was really cool hearing even your backstory about how you joined a team. Cause a lot of times me and Vikram, when we have conversations with new agents, we're like, join a team, learn from somebody that actually knows what they're doing.
100%. Yeah.
Before you go and try to start a business. So I'm curious, what are you doing now, or what were those fundamental things that you learned in order to kind of get to where you are now? Can you break it down for us a little bit? That kind of give us a little bit of a blueprint for people that are watching. What were those fundamental things other than client acquisition? Were there other things that you learned from the team that were things that were catalysts towards your growth today? What were those things?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, it's just about 8 years ago, I joined the Whistle team. And even though that's not that long ago, generating leads and the world, how fast technology changes. We were doing pay-per-click, we were doing Facebook ads. A lot of that stuff, we'll do a little bit of here and there now, but someone who maybe needs to really bone up on the foundation, you've got portals, you've got teams that you could join that will provide the leads. You could always, do the sweat equity instead of the check equity and knock on doors and circle dial and do open houses to generate those leads. But I think the answer to your question is just a lot of practice and hard work. We are habitually in both phone role plays daily at our company and weekly in-person role plays, practicing listing presentations, practicing buyer presentations, and the phone role plays take place every day where you're practicing having conversations with a variety of scenarios that you hope to book an appointment. And the other thing that I learned from coaching is that we're not making every phone call to book an appointment. The purpose is to sift and sort and to see if this prospect is appropriate to book an appointment, if this prospect is a waste of time, or if this prospect is 3, 6, 9, 12 months down the road. It's really a fact-finding mission, but we have to be ready to close at a moment's notice at the same time. So it just took a lot of time and effort. And also when I did move to the company, I wasn't just switching companies. I was letting go of my signpost, my brand. I'm a broker. I had my own storefront. I let go of that. I was a one-man show, but I was independent. And that was very difficult too. So, making that decision showed how important it was to get this basic setup. Otherwise, I really wouldn't have had a good path forward.
Go for it, Cody. I got so many questions. I know you want to go deeper, so go.
know what's funny, Vic, is like whenever we talk about the tactical things, like you always immediately go to the personal side. I'm like,
Well, I have questions on the tactical too about what he
okay,
went, but I know you got a couple of more, so I think you should.
yeah. So like
We're like a lovers. We're like lovers right now, JC.
yeah,
We
we do live together right now. It's funny, we have a big house, but
he's love.
yeah, sure, whatever you say. From a tactical standpoint, like how long are you doing these role plays? Because I chat with so many real estate agents across the globe, across the nation, that they're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make phone calls. I just like, like it sounds like a lot of excuses, but it sounds like you really see yourself as like a sales professional. So I'm like, was there a time and a gap where, early on in your career, maybe you didn't see things the way you saw things now? And like, was there like a mindset shift that happened? Because you mentioned like, hey, I had to kind of drop everything in order to learn things. Like, how did you do that? Like, for somebody maybe out there that is like not having the best experience trying to go at it alone, to drop everything and potentially join a team, because that happens a lot where I have conversations all the time where it's like, I don't know whether I need to reinvest in my business and try to make a go at this myself as a single agent, or I don't know whether I should join a team. Like, how do you know when the right time is to actually double down on growing your personal skills or potentially joining a team in order to get the skills? Like, how did you know that joining a team was the right move?
Yeah. So the biggest tell or the most pressing issue was money. I was paying for office space. I was paying for coaching in real estate, and I was paying for leads, and I was paying for CRM. I was paying for a lot of stuff, and my business was not supporting it. And I guess to finish the thought beforehand, this will cover both of you guys, a little personal for Vic and tactical. But I mean, looking back, I don't think I would consider myself depressed, but I was in a low state because the REO action was over. I was working hard on my own to make that transition, and it wasn't happening. And I finally had such a bad year in 2014 that it was approaching the end of the year, and I kind of just looked at my wife, and mind you, married, mortgage, kids, like all of this. So the pressure is intense, right? Living in San Diego, near the water, where things are not cheap, like gnarly overhead. So something had to happen, and I just said, I can't have another year like this. I got to do something. And that's when I started making phone calls, talking to team leads. I had a vision of building my own team, and I said, I have to set this aside. And I need to go play a role in somebody else's team until I'm in a better place. And I never, I kind of toyed with the idea of building a team within the team at the Whistle Group. And I let that go too after training a couple agents. It didn't work out. And I just haven't really gone back to that. And I've been happy, with this new trajectory. So there was a major, probably emotional lift as well, joining the group, being part of a team. I mean, I remember walking in and this bubbly blonde girl was like, hey, we're setting our goals for the year. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't even know what to say for how many hands I wanted to sell that year. Like I didn't have my head around normal sales team ideas at all. And so the whole thing was just new, and actually breathed a lot of energy into me. And I think that also came through. I probably had commission of breath during the previous year, and things were working out. So, and I wasn't really aware of it at the time. So I don't know if that answers the question.
No, it does. That's great. I think a lot of people can resonate with that, that moment of just having to make a decision, having to make a tough decision. And I think a lot of people are probably there this year. And I think that the stats tell us a lot of people are there this year. Only, I think the stat was only 8% of realtors this year have sold more than 4 homes. So I think a lot of real estate agents are going through that right now, trying to figure out, what their next step is. Do I leave the industry? Do I join a team? Do I try to double down? So it's really encouraging to hear that, you were able to kind of set it aside, figure out, learn from somebody, and then, you came out stronger on the other side. That's just super encouraging. Anyone listening, I think that, there are options where you don't necessarily have to leave the industry. You can find ways to work with people who have already built the systems and the processes that allow you to, stay in the industry, because it's a great industry to be in.
Yeah.
Oh, what you said was you dropped an ego. You had to, people don't realize this, but real estate is a very ego-driven industry, right? There's no other industry. There's plenty of other industries that are ego-driven, but real estate's the only real industry where you can go out there and on day one can ruin and fuck up people's finances because you have no idea what you're doing. You can't even cut somebody's hair without doing 2,000 hours of in-class shopping or training, right? Like mortgages, you cannot be a mortgage officer without certain things. Finances, you can't go work for Morgan Stanley without certain
A lot more
things.
regulations. A lot more regulations.
So real estate is the only one, because my belief is that the realtor and the MLS, they're only out for membership dues. They're not actually out for success, because the successful people will rise and they're just going to keep influxing people in, which is why they don't.
It's a churn.
Yeah. It's why they don't call for harder regulations to get in the industry, because they want that membership money. It's so good. And so I really want to give my hats off to you, bud, because to drop an ego and a goal is not easy, right? And you had to do two of those things at one swoop, and you did it for all the right reasons. You did it because you wanted to take care of your family, right? And sometimes I tell people they need to cut. So my rich uncle says there is no such thing as it's too expensive. There's just one thing: you don't make enough money, right? Your expenses aren't too much. You're not making enough money. So stop thinking small. But sometimes some people at the moment, right, they don't know how to get out of debt or trouble. And so you have to, make some adjustments. So when you decided, okay, I got a wife, I got a child, I got a household, right? Because this is where we're at right now. This is where we're at right now in the world. For anybody who doesn't believe me, let's talk in 2024. We are at a pivotal point right now. There is still business happening, right? One of our clients in the Real Estate Growth Academy, he just put 3 deals under contract from one of the things that we taught. But he's been doing the work. So he had a pipeline. He had some people to talk to. He just didn't know how to turn the spigot to turn them on and make them from cold to hot. But they were there. We are in a pivotal time right now, JC. And we are in a time where there are going to be a lot of people, and it's already out there. My friends, I'm friends with Kyle, a lot of the other agents that have big teams. They are losing agents. They are losing people. They are hearing about churn in the marketplace from real estate agents trying to find a job. How do you go from saying, I'm a solid agent, I did well for a couple of years, I know that I can make money, to now, fudgesicles, the market's dried up, I actually don't have the skills I need, but I don't want to admit that, because if I admit that, then I might be a failure. And it's not true. If you admit it, you're actually success, because you're changing the trajectory of your life. But how did you, as a successful person, let go of that ego to go and take care of the things you need to take care of? Because I don't think it's easy at all.
No, it was super hard. That was an amazingly tough. Like, that year was the culmination of a couple, 2 or 3 years, because that transition out didn't happen all at once, but that was the most poignant part. And I kind of, you take a quick survey of the landscape. Like, what else okay, let's say I call it a wrap on real estate. You're like, what am I going to do? Go punch a clock for somebody. I didn't want to do that. And even if I was interested in doing something like that, the chances of me making what I had been making when the years were good, because I didn't just have a couple of good years, I had some amazing years selling shitloads of REO, I was sort of like, I call it the gravy train, man. Cause like I was able to operate at a high level with like one teenager driving around checking on properties for me and a transaction coordinator, and no assistant, no nothing else. I was just keeping all profit. It was amazing.
Making hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. And that long ago, which is, inflation, whatever, different subject, but yeah, it's, so I guess I figured, like, what's going to have the best potential for me to continue to provide the lifestyle for my wife and kids and myself that we become accustomed to, and to grow and flourish from there. And, I just figured I had to figure it out. I had so many pieces of the puzzle, that I just knew that it wasn't going well. And I felt like a failure, dude. I felt terrible about the decision, letting go of my brand. Like, I didn't want to do any of it. I didn't at all want to do that, but I knew I had to do it. And I was honest with myself. And I think that's a huge piece, Vikram, is people want to lie to themselves a lot. And maybe it's subconscious. They don't want to, but people do lie to themselves. And it's a way of either protecting ego or whatever. But it's like, first we have to be honest with ourselves before we can be open and honest with other people. And I mean, yeah, I knew I had to do that. Like,
Yeah. Jocko calls it extreme ownership, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You have to own where you're at.
To live 5 minutes with me.
Oh shit. Yeah, you have to own where you're at, man. Like, and if you own where you're at, then and only then can you start to change where you're going.
Yeah, I've also heard, people, I don't know what the exact quote is, but there's very few people, especially in the real estate industry, but in general, who can have both the dollars and the ego. Most people have to choose one, right? Like, you can have your ego or you can have the income, but most people don't walk away with both.
No.
I want to talking about dollars and ego, like, because like we talk a lot, we've talked a lot today about, dropping the ego. I think there's a level of ego in the industry around like price point. There's certain, like, it's like me and Vikram have this conversation about like luxury, working with luxury. It's like, bro, I only share some lifestyle. I only work with luxury.
Anybody that's not a luxury agent.
Yeah, whatever. Like, it's so interesting that I'm curious to know your perspective around like leveling up your skill around, because it sounds like that's what you really did. Like, you kind of took a step back in order to take 10 steps forward, which is very cool to hear, because a lot of people aren't willing to do that in their business career. They're not willing to eat shit in order to have caviar.
No fucking swearing on this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Kids here, shit.
And so for you, when it comes to like leveling up your skill and it comes to price point, like, what is like your philosophy locally around helping people buy and sell real estate? Because there's so many different philosophies out there where it's like, I only want to be a seller's agent. I only want to be, I deal with buyers, but they have to be interested in homes over $1 million. What is your take on leveling up skill, getting into a higher price point, servicing clients in general? Like, what is your insight around that?
So, I think increasing your price point is hugely important. Since we work on percentages of commission, obviously. But I think unless you are month in, month out, closing more deals than you can handle, like, unless you're doing 10 or 15 deals a month, like, you don't have the right to say, no, I'm not going to work on that cheap home, whatever cheap means in your market. You know what I'm saying? Like what, unless you're so slammed busy that you can actually let the low hanging fruit just fall away and say, I'm going to focus over here, then I don't want to hear it. But I also have made a concentrated effort to increase my price point. And that's the reason I had the year I did last year. I actually did. So we're on a kind of a mega team. There's 60, 70 agents on our company. Sidebar, I think the solo agent's going away, and not everyone's going to go to a mega team. And there's lots of different ways the teams look, whether that's, a leader and lots of help, or, a small team of 5 or 10, or a big group like ours. But I don't see how you're going to continue to compete as a solo agent. So that's like, we can talk about that separately.
I do want to talk about that though, because like, I agree with you. I think that the people with the best processes are going to win. So 100%, let's go there in a second.
So, but I did not lead the team in transaction count last year, but I definitely did in GCI. And that's because of my volume, right, that I sold. So, I want to increase my price points, but I'm not looking to be the 10, 15, $20 million guy, because those homes take 2-3 years to sell. I don't want to spend the money and the time it takes to be able to say, I sold that mansion on the cliffs,
Right.
you know, I would rather sell a whole lot of $1 to $3 million homes, you know, and just keep busy and have a huge income.
And just to put it in perspective, JC, not to cut you off, but I want to put it in perspective to people like $1 to $3 million. The average price point in your farm or in your area is what?
Close to $1 million.
Okay.
Like,
So I want to put it in perspective. You are looking to be at the top, median to about 2 to 3 times the median price, right?
Yeah.
So you're not.
I just want to be on the higher end, not the super luxury.
So if your price point is 250 median and you're in the 4 and 5s, you are in your luxury market. And do not look at JC's numbers because he lives in San Diego. So I just go back. I want to get a sidebar in there.
And I just want to get a sidebar in here too, because look at your median and just be realistic. Like, what is your median in the area? And then be realistic based on your skills and based on like
absolutely
things that you've actually sold. So sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there.
And don't put your nose in the air and say, like, I took a referral for a $300,000 buyer last week.
Yep.
Happy to do it. It's going to be impossible. I'm going to have this person looking at mobile homes instead of houses and condos because you can't get a $300,000 condo in San Diego County. But I took
right. When I sold real estate, my average sale was like yours. It was higher than the median price. 7 figures, $1 million to $2 million. I got a referral for like a $200 and some odd $1,000 thing. And they're like, we know you're probably not going to take it, but just refer it to one of your team members. And I'm like, it's a listing? Like, yeah. Like, dude, I take all listings. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, I will personally go take everything, take care of it. And they're like, why would you do that though? And I said, because it's a referral. 2, that's how we roll. That's how my team operates. I don't take a lot of buyers. I have a team for that, but I take all of our listings. And even though my team could handle the listing on their own without me, and it's a referral, it's easy, it's already locked and loaded, you can't be snooty. And everybody who says I'm only a listing agent, well, guess what? Buyers are rulers right now.
Buyers are,
if you don't know how to deal with
the quickest way to a paycheck. Yeah. So you
don't have to deal with buyers. You're screwed. You're screwed. So we're butting up on time. And I know Cody had something he wanted to talk to you about, solo versus team.
Yeah.
I would rather spend about 90 seconds on why, because I know Kyle's all about brand, and he built his, he's $1 billion a year sales company, and they did it a lot because they were just interviewing the local mom and pop that owned the sandwich shop, and they owned they talked about the park, and then they talked about this, and they talked about that. What are you trying to do to level up your personal brand right now?
Yeah, so the studio that we're sitting in is something that it's still in the infancy. We're actually, just like you guys have a podcast, Spencer and I are in the process of starting one. And so the point of this podcast is going to be primarily to expand the network, the personal network sphere of influence, right? And I want to focus on business in general, not just the real estate business. I want to reach out. I've got a list of like 20 business owners that I want to sit down and have a little bit longer conversation, maybe half hour to an hour instead of 20 to 30 minutes. And I want to go into kind of what we did today. Like you're on top of the mountain now, but tell me about the low points you felt and like, how did you work through that? Because nobody who has had great successes has done it without significant failures along the way. And those are the most interesting stories to me. So my goal is to launch this podcast and really dig into the business, which I'm interested in, but also the personal stories behind the business, and use it as a way to really expand the sphere of influence and network.
So you're going to use long form podcasts with video cut up, chopped up, and you're focusing on local businesses in your San Diego area, correct?
Yep. Yeah, we're doing some other stuff too that's kind of more, kind of realtor educational stuff with TikTok and, Reels and YouTube Shorts and things like that. But this is kind of the direction that we're going. And the reason, to answer your question, why we put money and time and energy into this space here in downtown San Diego.
I want to wrap it up with why you think that the single agent is dying, and what you think that these mega teams or teams have as an unfair advantage when it comes to actually growing a profitable real estate business, because a lot of agents right now, single agents, don't run profitable businesses. So I'm curious to kind of know what your take is on that. What do you see happening in 2023, 2024? How soon do you see this all rolling out, and kind of the why behind this?
I don't know if I put a timeline on like when it's just going to be impossible for the solo agent. And I think there's going to be legacy people who've been doing it for 30 years or whatever, and they're never going to join a team or really build one up their own, right? They kind of maybe have one assistant or something, and that's the way they're going to do things. But the way that, I mean, the business has already changed so much just since I've been in it. I mean, the information that clients have access to and the expectations the clients have, like we have to be expert marketers. We have to be the super perfect paperwork guy. We have to be the personable, like chauffeur, cordial concept. There's so many roles that we need to play that doing it all on your own, like probably would have made sense before the internet, where nothing moved on that fast. And there was no technology. Your ads were in the newspaper. It didn't take that much energy to do everything, right? It took, you had to send a fax or drive across town to submit an offer, but that was the extent. Everything else was easier. That's like the only part that was harder. So moving forward, I mean, the mega team, I'm a member of one, and it wasn't a mega team when I joined, but they're going to have the advantage as far as being able to secure like a Zillow Flex account, or where maybe Zillow is only going to talk to 5 teams in the county, and hey, we're one of them, so like that's a significant benefit. But you don't have to be on a mega team to really change the dynamic from solo agent. Like you could just partner up with somebody else who's on the same wavelength with you, and then maybe share an assistant. Like there's different ways that you can team up and really excel, but to really shoulder it all on your own and do it, I just don't see it being scalable at all.
100%. And we're going to wrap up with this because I totally agree with that. You look at a company like Zillow, who's essentially is a marketing company. It's all data. Everything at the end of the day comes down to data, and having the right data, getting in front of the right people, and having the distribution, and Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, Zillow ads, everything is an auction. And it's whoever can actually outbid the next person to get the ranking higher. So, you guys just have such a better opportunity at spending more money in order to acquire more customers. So I want to say thank you more than anything for stopping in with us today to kind of have a conversation kind of about really your wins, your losses, and your lessons and your stories. Because I really do think that this podcast today is really going to help a lot of people kind of make maybe it's a transition that they're making in their own real estate journey. Maybe they need to make a key decision. I think there's a lot of key aspects. So if you're listening back, I really do encourage you to go back and listen to this. And if you're at a crossroads right now in your real estate business, I think there's definitely a lesson here. If somebody will want to reach you and they want to chat with you about real estate in the San Diego area, or maybe an agent wants to reach out to you, have a conversation for an agent-to-agent referral, where is the best place that we can send them in order to reach out to you?
I'll just give you my personal email, jc@whistlerealty.com. I mean, no biggie right there. I'm happy to chat with people. And if someone wants to, maybe they're in a position that I've been in the past, I'll share some of my time and share it for sure.
And where would people find you online, JC? What social platform, Instagram or TikTok, would you be preferred?
I'm moving into TikTok, but I'm not very busy there. So it's J.C. Agajanian is my handle on Instagram.
JC, dude, honestly, I've appreciated you for all the support over the years, just on the 5 a.m. club. A lot of people, don't give out what we call social currency, and you always do every day, almost 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. You always plug the people that are supporting you. So actually, I'm going to take a picture right now so that we can plug you back. And then the other thing I want to say is, man, thank you for being open and vulnerable, because most people don't share their ego stories or their secrets. And I know that's why you are such a strong advocate for your clients, because you're able to share and you're able to feel that pain and you never want to feel it again. And you're willing to do all the work to make sure that you stay on top. And congratulations to the fucking best year ever, man.
Thank you. Amazing. Love it. Yeah. Dude, man, that was so good. Like wins, losses. When we talk about the Our Agent podcast, we talk about wins, losses, lessons, and stories. And this podcast for me was so cool to learn from losses, to learn from really shedding ego in order to actually get, taking 2 steps back in order to go 10 steps forward.
Yep.
Man, so good. Like, what were some of your takeaways from this?
Bro, you already know where I'm going to go with this. To me, it's business is so simple when you have the mental down, right?
Sure.
Like the people don't realize that if your mental game is messed up, you might be super successful. You might make hundreds of thousands, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. But if your mindset is messed up, you will cap out somewhere far before your true potential is going to allow you. And the fact that JC shared a lot of his ego death, and I don't want to steal any of the thunder on it, that was to me the most important thing because we are in such a crazy pivot.
Yeah, I'm going to 100% agree with you there. I think that just walking through some of the tactical things that he did in his business from the losses, I think were really cool. Like actually anyone listening back to this podcast that is at a crossroads in their business of what do I do next? I think you should listen to this podcast. I think you should listen to it on repeat and really encourage you to soak in the story of how he got to where he is today and how he had his best year ever through, making a key decision in his business that catapulted him towards success. So thank you for tuning into another episode of the RE Agent Podcast.
I appreciate you a lot.
We will see you soon.